guys, welcome back to Founder to Founder. Today I am at Lilly Lane with Becky, owner, and we are going to be playing with some flowers and talking through a little bit about the wedding industry and about her. She's amazing. So, Becky, do you want to go to introduce yourself and then talk about our activity today?
Sure. Well, I'm Becky Ruby-Wojtowicz. I am the owner and the founder of Lilly Lane Flowers. We are located in Broad Ripple, and we do weddings, events. We do Flower Club, which is a monthly delivery program. We do Beers and Blooms, which is a partnership with Blackacre. We do a lot of things, all related to flowers and events. And today we have actually gotten started. I am prepping for one of our 4 weddings this weekend.
Oh, wow.
And so this one, yeah, there's a lot going on today. There's a lot of flowers everywhere. And so this one features a smaller wedding party for this weekend. She only has, let's see, 5 bridesmaids here. We've got 5, 6, and 9 this weekend in terms of number of attendants. So
wow.
We are going to be making a sample today of one of the bouquets that's going out. And then I've got about another 30 roses here that I'm going to teach you how to prep. There's work that goes into it.
Cool. Well, awesome. How do you start it, or do you want to kind of talk through how you got started here while you start?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay, cool.
I can chat and build at the same time.
Sweet.
So I got started, I was 25 when I started, and the first thing I'm going to do is pull a piece of green grass. I just contradicted myself and got a little distracted by it that I could talk at the same time. So I got started when I was about 25. I was working for a nonprofit at the time and really liked it, and liked the work that I was doing, but the problem with working in nonprofits is that I was really bad at asking for money. That's kind of a critical skill. So I had started this business on the side, just, hey, this is kind of fun. I had some natural skills. I'd been able to do some flowers for, some events that I'd worked on. And kind of thought to myself, maybe I'll start something on the side. This seems kind of fun. And told a couple friends, hey, think about me if you're having an event or a nonprofit, event that you need flowers for, and, we'll see where it goes. So a couple months later, hadn't really done anything with it yet, kind of sitting at home thinking, what's my New Year's resolution going to be? And a friend of mine called, a good friend of mine who's actually getting married next year. And, is married, but is, as we can talk about, having the 2020 redo next year on their anniversary. And he said, hey, what are you doing right now? And I said, well, why? And he said, well, our mutual friend. I said, yes. Her florist just called for her wedding. She's pregnant. She just canceled on her. Do you think you could do wedding flowers by July? And this was January, so I said, sure. By July, I'll know how to do wedding flowers. And boy, I tell you what, YouTube was my friend, and Google was my friend, and I looked at a whole bunch of different things that I'd need to learn. Googled how to make a boutonniere, how to make a corsage, all the things that I didn't know. Yeah. And by July, she and Matt, Emily and Matt, were our very first couple. We got married on July 13th, 2008.
Wow.
And now have 3 beautiful daughters. But that's really how we got started. And so then word kind of got out among friends of mine, that I was doing weddings on the side and just reasonably priced, doing it for fun. Yeah. When you're 25, you know a lot of people that start getting married. So the next thing I knew, I had a wedding business. Yeah. And I wasn't getting a ton of events. I was getting wedding work, and it really snowballed from there. I think we did 3 or 4 weddings our first year, and then I did some bridal shows and started to pick up other work, and I had 9 or 10 weddings kind of lined up for the next year, and took the leap and quit my job in June. And then I booked 30 weddings for the next year. And we haven't done less, except for 2020. Yeah. We haven't done less than 50 in a year since then, and several years we've gone over 100.
Oh my gosh.
Yep. We've got 1,000 weddings under our belt at this point. Probably well over 1,000. I haven't counted in a few years.
Yeah, that's amazing. Holy cow.
Crazy.
That is so cool too, just to hear about how it's taking that leap after kind of seeing people believe in what I'm doing and I'm doing it well. Next step. That is so cool.
Next step. So that was actually 12 years ago last week that I quit my job.
Well, cheers to that.
Gave myself 6 months and exceeded my goal.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's amazing. So what has it been like going into the wedding industry? I mean, what were you doing before? Was that a big shift in how the industry, well, yeah, you said
Yes,
nonprofit.
nonprofit.
Yeah.
So, you know, over there, typically you ask people for money, and then you tell them things like, this is a really wonderful cause, and it'll be a great day, and we'll probably have a big party, and I'll put your name on a plaque on the wall. And now I get to say, it's going to be a great day, and you're going to have a big party, and I'll give you a bunch of flowers for that money. And they say, oh, that's lovely, instead of saying, oh, well, you know, I'll think about that. And I think, you know, I was young. I probably could have developed those skills and probably gotten to be better at fundraising, but my heart was not in it, and this really clicked at the right time, I think, and just became that thing I didn't know that I wanted to do with my life, and just sort of fell into.
That's really cool, though. I feel like finding what you are excited about and something that you do enjoy is so important. Sometimes it takes doing something you don't really enjoy to find what you do enjoy. So I mean,
I agree.
That journey is like so important.
I agree.
So I know we talked a little bit about this before we got started. You said the wedding industry is really female dominated, which I didn't know that, but it makes sense hearing it. What is that like working in such a female led industry?
I mean, I think, you know, it has its pros and its cons. You are not alone as a female business owner. You're frequently dealing with other female business owners. I do think that a lot of women tend to share, you know, similar struggles. Certainly there's a lot more understanding among females. Hey, I have childcare issues that day. Can we meet in the afternoon? Or, you know, what are you working around? And there's also a feeling in the events world that we're all a little bit more forgiving of each other because we all have events at weird times. So, you know, I think a client would call up and ask to meet me on a Saturday morning and not think anything of it. A fellow wedding vendor would never ask to meet you on a Saturday morning. Are you joking? That's when we do weddings.
Right.
If you ask me to meet you on a Saturday morning, I'm like, and we get that about each other. And then at the same time, you know, when you're at a wedding and it's 11 at night and you've been there for 14 hours, you know, we know that you're away from your kids, you're away from your husband, your spouse or your partner is working or with your family while you're not there. We work non-traditional hours. There's a lot more that goes into it, and I think that women kind of tend to have a little more of that understanding and forgiveness each other, which is not to say that men don't. And I think that men in this industry really get it because they're all facing the same things. You know, many photographers, videographers that I know, especially DJs, we're used to those weird hours, and we're a lot more forgiving with each other to deal with the problems and the challenges that can come with that.
Yeah, definitely makes sense. That is really cool. And then I know obviously 2020 was like different for everybody, and everyone kind of had to shift in some way. You've added on home. Is it by Lilly Lane or home?
Home by Lilly Lane.
Yes.
Yep,
That
absolutely.
is so cool. I know. So I've ordered from Becky a few times, and it's so cool. For Mother's Day, there was the ability to add on a few different items, and we've recently talked about it. But do you want to kind of talk through more of what that looks like and like what your vision is for it? Because I think it sounds so amazing.
Absolutely, yeah. So we did a major pivot in 2020. You know, we used to be exclusively events, and here and there, I would do things. Sorry, I'm gonna spit stuff all over you. Here and there, I would do events for friends of ours. You know, I would do a Valentine's Day bouquet for my sister-in-law or something like that. You know, friends and family would order a couple things. But then midway through 2020, we got the first call that a wedding was going to be canceled. And ironically, it was that same friend who gave me the call about my very first wedding. He was my very first cancellation in 2020. So he has really bookmarked so much of my career. And he called and said, you know, we're not having our wedding. And my husband and I were in Bloomington, and I looked at him and I said, this is going to be a thing. And it was. We lost all of our March weddings. All of the April weddings started calling in. May weddings started calling in. And all the vendors are talking to each other. And, you know, what are you going to do? What's going to happen? Yeah. And they said, you know, I think maybe by June. And I remember talking to my husband, and he said, what do you think? And I said, no, this is going to be. I had an October bride call and cancel. And postpone, I guess I should say. And that's when I knew. And so we really, our doors were closed for 8 weeks. We picked up a couple events. There was a small wedding. We did honestly have some rebookings. Folks whose weddings were canceled at the last minute who were supposed to go out of the country or out of town. Some wound up having very small backyard ceremonies. We picked up one with less than 30 days notice and did like a dinner party for 20 in her backyard. So all of a sudden it meant something very different to have a wedding versus a wedding. Sorry guys. And you know, and that was interesting too, because it can be easy, not easy, but it can be, when weddings are commonplace, when they're your job, you can kind of forget that at the end of the day there's people getting married at them. And so it was nice to kind of pause and take stock of, you know, oh, these two people had their entire plans canceled. They canceled airline tickets, they canceled vacations, they canceled all-inclusives, but they just want to get married anyway because that's what it was about in the end. And so now we're having this beautiful backyard ceremony that, you know, we threw together in 15 days. And it was nice to see some of that emerge. And it was equally nice to see people who said, you know, we understand that we could still have a wedding with just the two of us, but we really wanted these 50, 60 people to be here. We're going to push it a year. It's not going anywhere. We're not going anywhere. And there was a confidence in that I really enjoyed seeing. And then the third option that we had several people take advantage of was doing like a small bouquet and boutonniere, and they got married, you know, at home or at a parent's house with a very small group, and then postponed for like a 1-year anniversary party. So we've actually had 2 couples this year whose babies have attended their 1-year anniversary celebration. And it's just adorable. So it's very much this, you know, life goes on feeling, you know, and now they've been married and they're having their party. There's a new person added they didn't expect. It's very cool.
That is so cool. That is so sweet. So kind of bringing it back around.
Yes, we started somewhere. Yes, we did. It was home. So yes, so people are canceling right and left, and I'm like, well, that's cool. Flower industry still has a ton of flowers. We didn't see this coming, so I don't want to collect unemployment. I don't want to ask people to cover my expenses. I want to make flowers. And so we just put out into our network, you know, like I said, we have over 1,000 couples, and certainly not all of them are local, not all of them have stayed in touch, but enough that we put stuff out into our networks and said, you know, if we were to make flowers and drop them off on your doorstep, would you like that? And the answer was yes. So we kind of put together a 6-week program, and then it really just became about building on what we learned from that. So everyone loved it for 6 weeks. You got some great feedback on pricing, got some great feedback on, you know, hey, my flowers lasted close to 2 weeks. If you did this again, I would love to do 12 weeks, but every other week or once a month. And we really spent the summer kind of refining what a flower club would look like and launched it as a monthly membership or a bi-monthly membership. Or I guess I should say, monthly membership or a bi-weekly membership.
Okay, yeah.
So we have folks that get 1 delivery a month, 2 delivery a month. We have some people that pick up here once or twice a month. And we launched that in August of last year. And then immediately started fielding questions about, hey, could I order a second bouquet for you to deliver for my mother-in-law's birthday? Could I order this? Could I order that? So we said, well, we're making them anyway, sure. So then we launched our weekly gift program. So we deliver on Wednesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays, and you just order in advance, and we kind of tack on to the weekly flower club orders and go all over our little delivery area here in Indy. So we did a lot for Mother's Day, Valentine's Day. The holidays are very popular for that. But I would say that we've been getting a steady amount of, you know, happy birthday flowers and thank you flowers and things like that. So
no, that's so cool.
It's nice to see.
Yeah, and I know I first was like introduced to Lilly Lane because it was right around graduation time, and obviously 2020 graduation looks so different than what it normally would, and I thought it was so cool that you were still bringing this like bright piece into like people's lives, especially being able to have it delivered. Like I know one of my best friends, the one who I ordered the bouquet for, she was so bummed because like her mom was first generation for college, and so she was so excited to be like the first one to do it, and like her sisters are all younger than her, so like it was like the continuation of it. And I remember I sent her the flowers and she called me and like because it worked out timing wise that I sent them to her on graduation weekend when she would have been getting ready to go. And
I love that. I still remember going to her house.
Yeah, and like, oh, it was just I'm like getting chills because I just like remember how much that meant to her, and so you delivering these like pockets of sunshine to so many different people and like bringing that like light back when like it was kind of dim at that time. That is just amazing that you're able to do that. And you touched on holidays too, and we've talked in the past about how you've worked as a business owner to be so inclusive and educated on the different holidays, because it's not just the standard Christmas and Mother's Day. Like there's so many holidays in between, and there's so many different cultures. Like we talked about one of the funerals, you don't bring flowers.
Yes, correct. So, I had really never had occasion to dive into what is culturally appropriate or not. And so luckily, we did name it home. We're at home here in Indiana. We're in central Indiana. There's a lot of white Christians, but there's also a lot of non-white people. There's a lot of non-Christian people. There are so many wonderful people here of every cultural background, every faith. And so we said, please share with us, what do you celebrate at your home? Mm-hmm. And we had folks come back and say, obviously the end of Ramadan is a huge celebration. You would see brightly colored flowers then. We had folks say that the Chinese New Year, Lunar New Year celebrations featuring red is a lucky color, which is also red is a very lucky color in Chinese weddings. You would never use white there. You would never use white to symbolize hope or happiness in those instances. White is their version of a funeral flower. Good to know. I'll send white. And then I did have someone come back and say, on the Jewish calendar, these would be the holidays that I think would be the most significant that I would send flowers on. This is what I typically might see for some of those holidays. And then she said, if you ever get a request for a Jewish funeral, you can decide if you want to do it or not. Mm-hmm. But culturally, that's not appropriate for us. We would not really welcome those flowers to be in the sanctuary. And, perhaps the family would take them home or perhaps they wouldn't. But that's not something that we do, which is obviously the complete opposite of a Christian or a Catholic mass, where you see large floral sprays, casket sprays, large graveside displays. Right. She said that it's significantly more common and appropriate to send food.
Yes.
And so we thought that was fabulous. It's not that I want to turn away business, but I ultimately want the recipient to be getting the best thing for them. Mm-hmm. So if we would get that call, she gave me a list of places that I could suggest referring out to.
Right. No, that's great. And I think, especially as like our country like grows and like we continue being this melting pot of like cultures, which I love about where we are. Honestly, that is what I love. My parents, both sides, immigrated from different countries, and like the opportunities that they have found here has been so big. Mm-hmm. I think it's so meaningful to see established business owners, I don't want to say going out of your way, because I feel like that should be part of your market research, but being so intentional about understanding your market and understanding your audience and wanting to be as welcoming and as inclusive as possible in that.
I mean, absolutely. Again, here we are in central Indiana. Mm-hmm. Last weekend, we actually did 3 days worth of setups for a couple who are a Vietnamese-American blended couple. Mm-hmm. And so they were honoring her Vietnamese background with 2 days of celebrations, including, I believe, a tea celebration, but featuring red and white flowers at some of those things. And then we repurposed that into a wedding at Black Iris Estate on Sunday that was all white flowers and greenery and different roses and some blue hydrangeas that were gorgeous, as they are this time of year. Yes. But 3 days of different ceremonies. And so I had the chance to meet some of her family members and, learn a little bit more about what they were doing and see the setup for that event, which I'm a little bit white. I would not necessarily be part of a Vietnamese tea ceremony,
right.
On an average day here.
Yeah, no, that is so cool. I love that. And then, so part of home is also you're connecting with new or other businesses, other small businesses. So what has that been like, and what does that importance mean to you of connecting like that?
I mean, I just love it. We have so many friends that are small business owners. As you know, there are 2 people who share our space here that I know that you know. One of them being an employee of mine who has opened up a yoga studio where she does private yoga lessons in this building. And then a photographer. So we've been able to get to know people in our industry, open our doors a little bit to them, and then remind me where I was going.
No, you're
what
so
the question
good.
was.
The small businesses, and I don't even
Yes,
know if
yes,
we've
yes.
touched
Small
on
business
exactly what
partnerships.
we're doing. So maybe if you want to kind of go into that and how that connection is.
Yes,
part of that,
absolutely.
yeah.
So small business connections. So some of the other partnerships that we've really looked outside of our building for were some that were a little more natural. A girlfriend of mine is a partner in a few restaurants here in Broad Ripple. They pivoted to a home delivery model as well. We had a floral option to add on to that. So, maybe you weren't going to go out to dinner or buy your significant other flowers as a date, but you could have everything brought to your house.
That's cool.
The other partnership that I absolutely love, because I'm a little bit biased, is that we've started Beers and Blooms with Blackacre Brewing. They're out of Irvington. They also pivoted to a delivery model, and they will actually go farther than we do. They go
Wow.
all over Indy and every single donut county for their delivery. So you can get
Wow.
Lilly Lane flowers anywhere they deliver every Friday.
That is so cool.
And that partnership was completely nepotism at play. My brother is one of the owners of Blackacre. We never had the occasion before to really interact in any way. There was a wedding that was at a brewery a couple years ago. They had collected growlers of all their favorite breweries that I put flowers in. One of them was Blackacre.
Yeah.
That was the most we crossed over in 9 years of being sibling business owners 10 miles away from each other.
Right.
And so when he pivoted to a delivery model, and we did as well, it kind of became this natural opportunity to say, beers and flowers are kind of a cool gift.
Yeah.
I would like that if that showed up on my doorstep. I think a lot of people would. And so we were kind of kicking the idea around, and they've been doing a big build out of their new space and working on their Zionsville location. And hey, let's chat about that. I'll see you this weekend. We'll get the kids together.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Well, like a week or two later, I got a call from somebody, and she said, I am trying my hardest. I'm trying to send a bottle of wine and a flower arrangement to somebody, and I can't find a florist who will do it for me. And I said, well, that's because that's a violation of Indiana liquor laws. Let me hook you up with this restaurant I know who can sell you the wine. I'll sell you the flowers. There you go.
Yeah.
She called back 2 days later. She said, that was amazing. It worked out perfectly. Can you do it with beer? And I said, yes, I can.
Wow.
So I called my brother and said, okay, we gotta make this happen. And they have a fantastic person on their staff, Amanda Wallace, who coordinates all their events, special programming, and special promotions. So she and I put together this Beers and Bloom package in time for Valentine's Day and launched it out, I think, with maybe a week left to order, and we're just so pleasantly surprised by the number of folks that actually did order through that. And again, just a new market for both of us. Certainly a lot of people who like flowers, and many of my couples have alcohol at their weddings and enjoy a beer. And many people who buy beer also like to buy flowers. So we combined the two and offered it for special events in the beginning, and now offer it as a weekly feature. They deliver every Friday. So if you want something like this to show up on your doorstep, you can get that any Friday from them.
That is awesome. That is so cool. Okay, so you said you're going to show me a little bit of prep work.
Yes.
Dive into that.
Sure. So you
Alright.
got to see this one get made.
You did it you made it look so easy and just so fluid. You were just.
It's kind of fun. I don't always know how they're going to turn out, but you start with an idea in mind, and then the flowers you saw how some of the greenery didn't lay right. But the biggest thing about flowers, and everyone wants to design them and put them in a vase, but they come to you looking like this, with a whole bunch of thorns and a whole bunch of leaves and all this stuff that has to get taken out. So I could sit here and say, snap all these thorns off, cut all these off, or you can use this guy. So how this is going to work,
Okay.
that part's going to go around the stem. You're going to hold that part. Now, here's the trick.
Okay.
You're going to pull it down without popping the head off the flower. If you pull this hand away, your rose isn't going to have a head anymore. But if you pull this hand away,
Right, okay.
then you're going to go and wind up with that.
You make it look so easy. Okay, I feel like I should
Yeah, give it a little stretch.
Okay.
You got it. You got it. Are you righty or lefty?
I'm righty.
Okay, that's good.
I don't know why I had to think about that first. Okay, so
you're going to grab that guy.
So would I start here?
Yeah, just give yourself a little space there.
Okay.
Click around,
Click around.
and then you're just going to pull it down. There you go.
Oh,
Look at that.
That is so cool.
Isn't it?
That is so nifty.
It's my favorite little toy.
I love
Saves
that.
me a lot of time. Can
I do one more?
Yeah, you can do one more. There's 500 roses here this week. So I will take all the help I can get. Yes, I'm going to do this about 500 times this week.
Holy cow. Okay, so there's my room.
Look at
you
that.
You can really feel the thorns on it.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and when you miss one, you sure can when you pick them up.
I bet. Oh. Okay, so one of my final questions for you, how do you continue to inspire yourself?
Oh,
mm-hmm.
Wow.
Surprise question.
I know. That's a good one. You know, I was talking to Amanda earlier,
mm-hmm.
our pal who shares the space. And I said to her, I was giving her an update on something that's cropped up this week, and I said, you know, it's funny because last week I never would have considered this.
Mm-hmm.
But we've always had success by listening to every option that comes our way.
Mm-hmm.
Right time, right place, right person, just the right feeling for something. And so what's really great is that this has worked for 13 years, and it's going to continue to work, and we're going to continue to grow.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't feel wedded, pun intended, to what that looks like. I think if 2020 really showed us anything, you know, you can have a great idea and be running a business that's completely different within 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm no longer subscribing to the notion that I have to know what I'm doing even a year from now. Sure, I'll sign a contract for your wedding. Absolutely, that's going to happen.
Right.
But maybe we'll launch a program for an office flower club as people return to the workplace. Or maybe we'll try that and everyone will be like, we don't want that. Maybe no one's going to want to go back to their offices. I don't know.
Right.
We can only keep trying things and seeing what works and listening to people, because we haven't really gone wrong yet in figuring out what brings people joy and just doing more of that.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say that, you know, as someone who didn't want to delve into the delivery world, I love Flower Club. I just absolutely love it. I get to deliver to the same people routinely.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of them we already knew, some of them we've met on this journey, but we get to know their houses. You know, I get to know one of them has a birthday this week, so she's getting a little extra something for her birthday.
Sweet.
You know, you get to know who likes pink and who likes orange, and we get to buy them different things. You know, it's not just a vase. This month we're featuring a little trio of potted arrangements, and
cool.
so we're doing little flowers in that, but then they get to keep those as a little potted plant ceramic bowl for afterwards. So it's kind of fun that we get to, you know, go shopping and look for different things, and it's not all weddings, which are beautiful, but, you know, I'm not going to do, hey, surprise, I bought you these hand-painted ceramic planters for your wedding. They'd be like, are you joking? We agreed on crystal vases.
Right.
You know, there's not a lot of flexibility there.
With that too, like, you get more of that personal touch, which I think is really big, and I think from like my interactions with you and like the people that we are in the same circle with, like we thrive off of those like personal connections, and so I feel like that definitely makes sense that even though you didn't want to go into delivery, like you're able to have like that prolonged relationship and like continue growing it.
Absolutely.
So that's really cool. I
mean, I think we wouldn't have survived the pandemic without starting Flower Club. Financially it kept us viable.
Right.
And the fact that so many of our clients trusted, you're still going to be here, I'm postponing. You know, we had, I think, 2 outright cancellations that we issued refunds to, and everybody else was, nope, I know you're going to be here. Right. We're still going to do it in a year, and so that kind of kept us afloat. But I think just socially and culturally, I don't think the pandemic would have been what it was if I didn't have the Flower Club. You know, I was at least emailing with those folks and showing up on their doorstep, and some of them were friends of mine, and so, you know, even though we couldn't go in each other's houses, I would leave flowers and ring their doorbell and like stand in the driveway and, you know, wave to the kids. Or
right.
Sometimes I would bring my kids and they would see their little friends and, you know, get to see them. Sometimes that were the only people we saw in a week.
Right.
So just maintaining as much human connection as we could really was one of the founding principles behind the decision to switch. And it's, you know, it's been absolutely critical, and I think we'll see how much it continues to remain absolutely critical from here on out. I think that emphasis on face-to-face and building true relationships, you know, and letting go of maybe some more of the superficial ones that
Right.
that just didn't matter anymore
Mhm.
when it came down to it. I think we're going to see a lot more of that authenticity for years to come.
Yes, and I am honestly very thankful for that because I mean, I feel like everyone now is very intentional with where we're spending our time and what we're doing. And 2020 was obviously very hard, but I think it's great that we have all kind of grown in that way. That we're like, I am making time to see family. I am making time to do this for me.
Mhm.
So I think that's really very well said. And
I'm just excited to see where it goes.
yes, me too. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us for our Founder to Founder today. We will be putting these out the third Friday of every month, so stay tuned for that. And be sure to follow Lilly Lane. Is it Home by Lilly Lane?
Yep, on Instagram, we're Home by Lilly Lane. On Facebook, we're Lilly Lane Flowers and Events.
So find them there, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks.